Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for clicking on this video and joining me in this episode of Review Flicks. I always appreciate you guys being here. So from time to time, we also like to dive into some video game news on the channel, especially when it ties into the comic book characters that we love from the movies. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the production of the Wonder Woman video game. This game was announced years ago, is still in development now. Warner Brothers has spent millions and millions of dollars producing this game. Is it ever going to see the light of day? That's the big question on everybody's minds. But we have a small update here regarding the Wonder Woman game. Also, it looks like we have some information that they were working on a Flash video game as well. But the movie came out, obviously the movie starring Ezra Miller, it bombed into the ground, made next to no money, bad critical reception, and it looks like they scrapped the video game because of it. So let's get into this article and let's read about the Wonder Woman game and also find out what happened with the Flash game. So this comes to us from Comic Book Movie. Wonder Woman video game still years from release. The Flash game reportedly scrapped after the movie bombed. So yeah, this Wonder Woman game, it's been now in development for a long time. It was first announced back in 2021. We're now in 2025 and the game still hasn't released. We still don't have any gameplay footage, no significant major updates for the game, and reportedly they've spent over $100 million developing this game. Also with the Flash game, like I said at the beginning, the movie came out, it bombed, and as a result, they scrapped the game. Surely you would see if surely they would wait and see if the movie was a success before developing the game. Wouldn't that make more logical sense? But hey, I'm not an executive, I'm not a game developer, I don't know how they work behind the scenes, but to me, that makes logical sense to see if the movie was successful before you develop the game. But anyway, let's get into this information and see if we can work out what's going on with these two games. So, first announced back in 2021. Yes, 2021. That's how long this game's been in development now. Official updates on the Warner Brothers game and Monolith Productions open world Wonder Woman game have been far and few between, and we may now know why. So according to a new report from Bloomberg, the game was heavily rebooted during production last year and has already cost the studio over $100 million. Wow. Could you imagine if this game never sees the light of day and they spent over $100 million on it? That's just insane. The title was still said to be years away from release if it ever makes it to market. So, based on what it's saying here, if it ever makes it to market, so this person who wrote this, there's obviously doubt in their mind that this game may never see the light of day. It could possibly end up being scrapped. But wow, I mean, it's just insane. You would think that having spent this much money and been in development for this a longer period of time, one of the people who were developing the game, they would have come out in an interview or a quote or said something. We just want to assure the fans that we're still working hard on the Wonder Woman game. We can't say much, but we can give you a small update as to the direction of the game. This is the progress we've made. This is when you can expect it roughly to come out. Here's a release window. They could come out and say something to the fans to give them a little bit of an update, positive encouragement to let them know this game is still coming, some sort of small update. It doesn't have to give away any major plot points or anything like that, but just let the fans know where you are with the game, how the progress is coming, keep the fans, on the hook, keep them excited, because at the moment, a lot of us are just looking at this and thinking, yeah, this game's never going to come out, we don't really care, and people are kind of deflated on it, I think. So, in fact, it sounds like Warner Brothers' entire video game division may be struggling or even in jeopardy. After Warner Brothers Discovery took a $300 million loss on gaming last year due to $200 million write-down on the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. We all know how that game turned out. People ripped it to shreds. The gameplay was awful. The character costumes were really bad. Everything about that game was just awful. And I'm glad when this game was coming out, I was really, really hyped and I almost purchased the game. But I decided not to purchase the game for financial reasons when it was first coming out. And I'm glad I didn't because I didn't waste my money on it. So I was so glad on that. And a $100 million write-down on Harry Potter Quidditch Champions and the fighting game Multiverses. So Multiverses were like that Smash Brothers type game where they had all the different kind of Warner Brothers characters and you could fight each other. And it looked pretty fun, but unfortunately, it just didn't resonate with people. The report also mentions that games based on Constantine and The Flash were in early development at Warner Brothers Montreal before the plug was pulled. In the latter case, this was down to the DCEU movie starring Ezra Miller bombing at the box office. So the game of The Flash that they were working on, would it have had Ezra Miller in the video game as The Flash? I'm assuming it would have, because it said here, because of the Flash bombing, they pulled the plug on the game. So I'm thinking, would it have been a continuation of the movie? Would it have been kind of a side story starring Ezra Miller as the Flash in the video game? Or would it have been a whole separate kind of different kind of, you know, actor in the Flash, like an original kind of person playing the Flash in the game? I'd be interested to see, you know, what they were kind of doing with that Flash game, but I don't think we're ever going to see any details or anything surrounding that game, unfortunately. That could have been something really cool. There is some good news though, well, kind of. For Batman fans, a new single-player Rocksteady title focusing on the Dark Knight is reportedly in the works, though, like Wonder Woman, years from release. I mean, going back to what works, I mean, the Arkham series, the best comic book video games of all time in a lot of people's opinions. Those Batman games, absolutely incredible. Even when you go back and look at those Batman games now on YouTube, some of the graphics, some of the gameplay, it still holds up, even though those games are pretty old now. You know, they're just revered as really high quality, decent comic book superhero type video games. And if the Wonder Woman game ends up anything like those games, then we could be in store for something great. It's just the fact that, you know, this year it'll be 4 years since the announcement of this Wonder Woman game. So at some point, fans start to lose enthusiasm when they have to wait such a long time with no updates. So we still know very little about the plot of the Wonder Woman game, and which it will follow. But the single-player title will be open-world action-adventure with an original story set in the DC universe that will allow players to become Diana and fight to unite her Amazon family and the human race. Come to think about it, now that they said that they rebooted the game during production last year, that's probably to fall in line with James Gunn's new DCU, because James Gunn has publicly said that the DCU is going to cover comics, movies, TV shows, and video games, so they probably rebooted the Wonder Woman game to be in line with the new DC universe going forward. That was probably why they did reboot it, now that I think about it. Okay. So, we still know very little about the plot of the Wonder Woman game, but the single title will be an open action mode adventure, allow players to become Diana and fight her, if I can talk properly. We still know very little about the plot of the Wonder Woman game, I already read that bit. Open action world adventure with the original story set in the DC universe that will allow players to become Diana and fight to unite her Amazonian family and the human race. Last year, a rumor did the rounds that the Wonder Woman game would be released under the games as a service model, which Warner Brothers Discovery quickly denied. Yeah, I mean, video game developers, they don't want anything to do with games as a service much anymore. It's got like a dirty connotation to it, especially after what happened with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Yeah, just games as a service. Whenever you say that, people cringe and kind of, you know, feel a bit sick in their stomach whenever you hear that phrase. So, for those of you who may not know, Wonder Woman is a single-player action-adventure game set in a dynamic open world, the studio said in a statement. The third-person experience will allow players to become Diana of Themyscira and introduce an original story set in the DC universe, while also featuring the Nemesis system. Wonder Woman is also being designed as a live service game. The Nemesis system was in those Lord of the Rings games, Shadow of Mordor, I think it's called, where you basically have enemies and you fight them, and as you fight them they adapt and get stronger and they change their tactics, and it's a really interesting system. And in those Shadow of Mordor games, they were really interesting how they used the Nemesis system. So if they use that in Wonder Woman, I think that'd be something really, really cool, and I'd be interested to see how they adapt that. But guys, that's kind of where we are, and this is remember this teaser that they put out? It's kind of this black screen, and then it has let me mute it. They had Wonder Woman in the background. Doesn't really show us anything. It's just literally just a small teaser telling us that this game is coming. And if we go over to YouTube, you can see here from Wonder Woman from Warner Brothers Games, it came out December 10th, 2021. That's when this teaser first came out. So it came out a very long time ago. Fun fact, as of today, it's been 2 full years since this trailer was released. And that comment was made a year ago. 3 years later and still no word when this game is coming out. Yeah, I mean, crazy stuff, crazy stuff. But having spent $100 million+ on it, I'm sure they're going to do their best to get it to market. And hopefully one day we have the game in our hands and we can actually play this game, because it sounds interesting on the surface. And a Wonder Woman game, I think it could be something great. So guys, you hear this update here, that they had to go back and basically reboot the game last year. They spent $100 million. It's been 3 years since the last teaser. And they basically scrapped the Flash game as well, which is quite interesting. So what do you think about this small update here? Are you excited and looking forward to this Wonder Woman game? And what do you think about this having no updates and just there's no news about this game whatsoever? And it's kind of frustrating to people who kind of want to get their hands on it and want to hear more about the game. And guys, just jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts, comments, and opinions on what we've covered in today's video. Thank you so much for being here. As always, make sure you hit the like button, guys, and consider becoming a subscriber of the channel if you haven't done so already. It goes a long way to supporting my content, so I really, really appreciate that. And I will see you, as always, in the next video.